Hello there and welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to also include events or actions on the page which the user will take and how this can be used along with variables to pass information between components. So in this example, we'll use the button tap to set the value of a variable dynamically. And in the next part, we will use a delay function and bring that value back to the old value. Let's get started. So we have an input component and we have a button. So let's go ahead and change the name for the input field. I'm going to say status. Okay. And let's save it. And this is still bound to the page variable 1. So we're going to still use the same variable. I'm not going to create a new variable. And then we have the button. So I want to change this to change. Okay, save. And you see that now this information is populated here. And here, let's change the placeholder text to something like off. Okay. And there you go. So you get the idea, right? The current status is off. And when I tap on the change, it should go to on. So it is a functional application. So to do that, I'm going to click on the change and I'm going to go to the logic. Now, keep in mind that we're going to talk about all these components in different sections, but while talking about the variables, it is almost impossible not to talk about events to be able to show a good example. So that is why we are touching base on a few functionalities of the events. So I'm going to click on the button. Okay, so this is the component tap event, right? So basically the user is clicking on that specific button. There are also different types of events you can use. In this case, if there's a change in the page variable, if the change in the app variable, if there's a change in the property, visible, disabled. As I said before, we're going to talk about these in a different section. So let's leave it to component tap. Now what's going to happen is when the user clicks on the component or the button change, the value of the variable needs to change. For that, I'm going to use a logic function called set page variable. Now keep in mind there are different options here. One is set app variable, one is set page variable, and one is set data variable. So you need to use the right flow function to be able to do that. So simply go ahead and connect it. Okay. So when the tap happens, what do I want? I want the value to change to on. That's all. Now let's go ahead and save this. And now if I actually click on the change button on my app, you will see that it's changing to on. So that's great. Now let's say that I want this on to go back to off after a 5-second delay. How do I do that? Okay, let's do that real quick. I'm going to go back to my input field. And here you can see that there are various events, right? So you can click on any of the event. We're going to change it. So we're going to click on the event. And I'm going to say when the value of the page variable changes, you give a delay of, let's say, use the flow function called delay in the utility. Let's program the delay for, let's say, 5 seconds. All right. Let me save it real quick. And then I want to set the variable back to its original value, right? So let me go back and bring in the set page variable, connect it. Okay. And let's go back to the value off. All right, let's do this. Now it's all good to go. Now let's go ahead and test it. Now before I'm going to test it, I actually have to define what's going to happen. So when I click on change, it's going to say on the status. And then after 5 seconds, it's going to go back to off. All right, let's go ahead and test it. So I'm going to click on change. It says on. So let's wait for 5 seconds. And there you go, it goes back to off. So if I change again, it goes back to on and goes back to off. All right, great. In this video, we saw how a value of a variable can be bound to a component. And we also saw how we can use a set of flow logic functions to change the same variable's value dynamically at runtime, and that can also be displayed on that same component. So it was a two-way interaction for that variable. All right, great. I'll see you in the next video.